In this episode of the podcast, we're talking to Seth and Beth of Seth and Beth Photography, among a few other ventures, which we're going to get into. Seth and Beth are two of the most incredible and genuine people that I know. They're also highly educated creatives. Beth comes from a background with over a decade of teaching experience, and Seth, well, he came from a background in chemistry where he holds a PhD. Their entire journey into photography and entrepreneurship began when Seth was let go of his job. So we're going to talk about that entire journey. We're going to talk about building and designing the life of more, how wedding photography has led them to starting other businesses, having time for other ventures, all of which are doing fantastic. That and so much more. So let's go ahead and get started. This is the TSS Podcast. It's a place for authentic conversations to uncover the stupid, simple truths that help us succeed in business, create better relationships, and lead more fulfilling lives. Welcome to Think Stupid Simple. Now, Seth knows this, but does Beth know that we start by lighting a candle at the beginning of each episode? I'm about to drop it on my notepad. It's like sliding out of my hands while I speak.
Set the mood. Uh-oh, now he's got to get his now, see?
It just, do you have that thing, Beth, that just like kind of gets you there, you know? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, coffee. Like we made a coffee.
Good.
Yeah.
You know what's weird about coffee, and to all of our listeners, we will get into our topic in just a moment, but just bear with us as we shoot the shiz for a minute. But
right.
if I'm like becoming so sensitive to caffeine, not in the sense of like caffeine messes me up, because like I can drink tons of it and nothing happens. But what happens is it doesn't matter if I've only had it once in a month. The next day I'll get a headache. Like the withdrawal.
The next day, like a beer or too much wine or margaritas.
Mm-hmm. I get caffeine withdrawal from one dose of caffeine.
That's terrible.
You're an
Isn't
addict.
that crappy?
That's what that's called.
Did he not hear I said one dose?
One
yeah, we have started. Where does Seth go? Oh, he's lighting his own candle.
I know the show.
Like Seth, we started.
I know the show.
I know the show.
I gotta light the candle like Pi does to get in the mood. You know how it is, baby.
So
I'm currently in the mood. Let's go.
Good. Well, for our audience, Seth and Beth, you guys are incredible people. I will have already given y'all an intro by this point, but I probably didn't say that you guys have a podcast. You guys actually got me to go on your podcast and kind of inspired me, not only inspired me, but then actually helped me to create this one. So Seth, you consulted with us and helped us through the entire process of creating the Stupid Simple podcast.
That was fun.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. It was you called. I was very honored. I've worked on a couple shows and
I almost thought it was like trash mail. I was like, do you think that Pi Jersa really emailed? Like,
are we spamming us again with
real email?
Yeah, so you reached out and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And we did it remotely, set up a whole podcast studio with the fellas, and we've been watching we've been really seeing the result of it. It's been incredible. I see the subscriber count going up, so congratulations. And we're obviously very stoked to be on.
Well, thank you, my friend. And it's awesome having you guys on. I got to say, like your guys' banter on your own podcast, I had such a blast. I don't think I've ever had that much fun doing a podcast than when I sat down with you guys in Vegas, which seems like years ago now.
No.
Yeah.
So much has happened.
We started just talking through, telling our experiences about weddings as you are. I have a lot of podcasting. I do it a lot. So I've gotten trained and Beth jumped right into it. So we started doing videos on like what we thought about weddings, how to have a great wedding, how to have a dog in your wedding, what are engagement sessions like. And they've been really helpful to send to our clients and say, here we are, we're out there. You can watch us. We have nothing to hide. And it was fun to have you and a bunch of other great photographers on.
And at one point, I do believe we actually got down on the ground and did some grappling.
Yes, you held me down. And it was quite shocking, a man of your age being able to hold such a...
my.
What?
Such a young buck like you. Yeah.
That's right where I was headed. That was fun. And so I'm certain you can totally kick my ass in any situation moving forward. So That's good to know.
I didn't know. Jiu-jitsu was like that. Like in the wrestling world, like if you are bigger than somebody, you're probably going to win. But jiu-jitsu's not like that. I mean, he quickly put you in some hold, and
it hurt.
It hurt.
It hurt.
Well, that is the premise of jiu-jitsu, is to use technique to overcome size and strength. But I thought you made me a promise. I mean, you said you were going to go and check it out and look it up, and maybe take your son.
Wait, that was before COVID, Pi. See, there's my excuse. Of course.
Right.
That was before COVID. Everything's been shut down. Haven't you seen the news?
That is a very good excuse, actually. I can think of no better way of getting COVID than another man sweating in your mouth.
Oh,
Happened. Yeah.
happened.
No, it literally does happen. I was rolling with a guy. I actually am getting back into it now, and this is my first week back. And I was just rolling with a big dude, and he was over the top of me, and like I could like see the drip in slow motion. It just came like straight down. I was like, and it landed like right under my eye. Like it's not good.
That's nasty.
So how's the show been going? I mean, you started, I sort of helped you get it together, and then I saw like 20, 30 people on the calendar. So give me some updates. How's it going? I've seen them roll over. I see the beautiful marketing and the branding. I'm very proud inside, as you can expect. But how is the show?
It's going great. I mean, Anthony's killing it on this side. So Anthony, say hi so everyone can hear you.
Hello.
So Anthony is helping to, produce, edit, all of it. We have had quite a few guests on, and it's growing. It's growing kind of slowly and organically as we expected. I think it's fun because whenever you do something new, we always launch something with the understanding now that like it's likely going to change. However good your game plan is, it's going to change pretty dramatically. So we always kind of get a rough game plan down, which we had, and then we just release, not trying to perfect that game plan because so much of it evolves. So one of the things that we've been doing is we're actually now starting to slow down new guests, and we're actually going to move towards breaking down like different things in each episode. So some of our past episodes, new episodes, we're going to work to like kind of focus each week around a single episode and breaking down nuances and discussing things. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of really great shareable content, but we're going to make that kind of pivot and shift soon, and hopefully it'll help it to grow even quicker. But yeah, it's funny how well the plan was kind of listed out, and then it's going to change really quite a bit, which I think is something that you guys have experienced for yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm bringing up the idea of pivoting. I'm on besides Seth and Beth and what we've done with our wedding career, I started a podcast or show YouTube channel with the embodiment here in Akron. And we went for almost 2 years with no one watching or listening at all. And it's of recently like completely exploded and changed our life in a very positive way. But people ask me, man, how did you guys do it? How did you guys grow your channel? And I was like, well, we have a guy throwing literally like hundreds of thousands of dollars at the channel to make it successful. And while at the same time, like it's somebody like me who, like I look back on my last 5 years, and I've been like straight up like told in my face, you're fired from like 2 major jobs in the past 5 years. And a lot of times we reflect on that. Like
Beth's laughing.
5 years ago, because that actually happened. Like I've had to call Beth, like I just got let go from my job again.
Oh man.
So like pivoting has been something we've been learning to do for a while. And,
Beth, how did you feel on the other end of those phone calls?
Oh my gosh. Well, the first time was tough. The first time.
That was a completely career changing. Like
Right.
I got a PhD in chemistry to have a job in chemistry, and then I lost.
You have a PhD in chemistry?
I know it's surprising because I look like a doofus. But
I always tell people like on paper, like when he signs his name, it's very impressive.
yes,
but then when you look at him, you're
reading.
like, what?
Yeah, what's wrong with this guy? Yes, I went to college for 10 years, and Beth got a teaching degree. She taught for 15 years. All the while, we started our photography business about 11 years ago. But anyway, and so in 2016, I was taken down to HR like a normal day, and they let me go on a Friday, just how you hear like total Office Space, like, let them go on Fridays so we can't like go postal on the whole place. And they didn't even let me like go back to my office to grab my crap. It was just like, we're going to escort you out of the building. Good luck paying for your children.
So that was, I don't know, that conversation was really tough because, we grow up being told like, okay, you go to college and you get the job and then that's what you do for the rest of your life. So, like Beth's a school teacher and Seth's a chemist and they, have their like little side hustle with the photography. And then when Seth lost his job, that's when we made the choice to just go full-time photography. That's really because, you go to school for so long and you're so committed, but what really made us happy was the photography. So Seth has never done chemistry ever again since that moment. And now I don't even teach anymore. Like we both do our thing.
So there were some hesitations there. Yeah. So there were some hesitations, like actually going forward with just photography. It wasn't even until actually we looked at our books to be like, what do we even make with this? Because it was just some side hustle. Then we realized like I was almost making like double what I was making as a chemist.
Wow.
And we hadn't even really gave it, a good effort.
Right.
And then now, as Beth's saying, she really got after your content from SLR Lounge about building a business. And so she spent all of COVID going bonkers. So, but again, looking back years ago, we thought we were doing amazing, like doing all the steps. And now she just goes like bonkers with like networking and everything you teach, the SEO, blogging. She wrote 120 blogs last year.
That's wild.
In the venue pages. I'm most impressed with the venue pages.
Hold on, because we got to break all this stuff down.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, this is crazy. I had no idea about any of this stuff. I want to go back to, so you are the whole premise of our episode here is designing a life of more. I mean, this is designing a life of more with Seth and Beth, and kind of the decisions that you guys made to create, not what society thinks you should live and what you should do, but to create your own version of what success means and creating, designing a life of your choice. But in that moment of being fired, what was going through your head at that point?
We had, I think internally, not even externally, internally, we both had what felt like pressure from our parents to like,
that's what I was going to mention.
Pick something. Like they both invested in like a very preppy high school for us that cost a lot of money, and then a college that, that Beth's dad had been saving for since she was a child. And my parents, they went into debt to send me to some liberal arts school. That's just really, and so there was probably some pressure. I think this has all gone away, by the way, now with millennials. Like millennials, like I can be anything in the world. Where for us, I felt it was more like you have to pick. By the junior year of your high school, you need to pick your career and start going with it, right? And so I got
I'm pretty sure you are a millennial, aren't you?
Oh no,
how old are you?
I think we just missed the cut. Thank God.
Born in 81.
81.
So
you are a millennial. No, I think it's 81 is a millennial. Anthony, you got to look this up. I'm gonna have Anthony look this up while you guys are. But continue, Mr. Millennial.
Listen, I mean, I can get on that topic.
Millennials were between 1981 and 1994. So I'm on the end of millennials.
What month of millennials, Anthony?
I need a date.
I'm an Aquarius here. I mean,
I think it's January.
Listen, I actually think January. Oh boy, that's when it would start. I would think
January 1st.
That's natural. I would think. No, listen. I love millennials. We hire millennials.
You better. You are one.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Holy cow. Okay. My whole world just came like full circle.
Yeah,
there.
you can put your old fart mug away now. Okay, right?
I don't even know what we were talking about.
You are a spring chicken, bro.
But with that, like internal pressure from it was just like it's sort of an unspoken pressure of like that's what you need to do. So we went down that path. We went down that path of like get that job that you may very well dislike.
Yeah.
So you can go home and be like, and now I have a great job and I get my vacation. And for some reason, after that wasn't working as much, we wanted more. So we just thought there was more to life. So we got a camera and started photographing our new baby. And next thing you know, that started taking off. So it was Beth's idea. We started taking baby photos. They were terrible, of course, like everyone's first photos. Remember those?
Yeah.
Oh my
They're hanging up
gosh.
around the house. And then we decided, let's give this a try. Someone else would email us or on Facebook message us, hey, will you take pictures for my kid? Then one of our dear friends said, you're photographing our wedding. Like, we didn't even tell you, but you're doing it. It's like, okay. So that's how that career got going. And then we went through some tougher years where Beth was teaching, I was working, we had kids, and we're trying to balance way too many weddings where we're charging too little. Mm. And there were definitely some tough years about trying to balance everything. But inside, I was always hung up a lot about money, Pi. I don't know about you or maybe some of the listeners, but like unfortunately, I grew up, God bless my folks, there was just a lot of like arguing about money. And I thought that more money could make life better. And it actually can. If you've ever been on a jet ski, of course, it's very fun. But
are you directly quoting Tosh.0?
Yeah, like have you ever been on a jet ski? I mean, money can make life a lot happier. It's hard to be unhappy on a jet ski. But like my partner in our real estate YouTube channel, he said money can make things a lot better or a lot worse. It can exaggerate a person, whether a great person or a bad person. Money can make it better or worse. But we just wanted, like I said, we just wanted more. So I've definitely been like thinking about the idea that the worst day of my life, besides like someone passing away, like my dad or something, was like getting fired. I thought for years, 5 years, that was like the worst day of my life, is like calling Beth and being like, how do we pay for the house? Where do we get health insurance? How do we pay for our new children? How did I screw all this up? And then now I look back, of course, and it seems like it's like a revolutionary, like this is the best day of my life. This gave me this freedom to like totally fail, and then like know that the next day it can be better and keep going. Wouldn't you agree, baby?
Oh my gosh, I was thinking the same thing. Like at the time, I think that's what we were feeling, is like failure. Like how did we fail? And it took us a long time to figure out that like sometimes failures are a blessing in itself. Like, and even just figuring out how to get through those moments is very difficult. Like thinking that, like, like how is life ever going to be better? How am I going to get through this? How are we going to get through this? But if you work at it, life can figure itself out, and it can be for the best. And
yeah, so I was trying to search for like really stupid low-paying jobs to replace that one, maybe realizing I wasn't going to be happy. And then a photographer friend of ours just said, gave me great insight and said, you're nuts. You guys are photographers. You should just do this. And then since then, we've just like done incredibly well in like creating.
It's funny how you like remember when you have these these life-changing conversations. Like, so I'd say we were like, Seth was on unemployment for a couple months, and then he like called me, Beth, and I was at the top of the stairs and he was at the bottom of the stairs. He's like, why don't we just go for it? Why don't we just do this full time? Like, why freak out about chemistry and this? Like, all of our parents will just get over it. They'll just get over it. Like, if we're happy, that's all that really matters. And I'm like,
what I said? That's
nice.
That's nice. That sounds lovely.
35 years old at the time. I mean, 34 years old. I mean, it wasn't a time to restart life, but we did. And then, so, and it wasn't too long later that it took over to the point where Beth had to quit her job of teaching. And we've been doing this now maybe 3 years, all day, every day. And she's really stepped into this new role of just completely slaying like all the communication and the marketing and just all the stuff that makes a business incredible that I never thought we'd even get close to doing. And she's rocking it. She does it all day long.
We're doing it together.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's nice to see. It's just great. So, yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? I drew a picture. Look at this picture. Okay.
Oh.
There we go. Okay. So here, let's see if it'll focus on it. There we go. So I always draw this little picture of perspective, this little graph right here. And here, hold on. Let me hold it this way. There. Nope. There we go. Okay. So what I always look at is like, we have this tendency to kind of like, if this graph was like life, right? we have this tendency in these kind of moments right here where all you see is just that moment and you see these low points. Whereas like if you actually were to zoom out, if you actually see your life in its entirety, so you see this entire graph, then you realize that like your potential is actually far, far greater than where that low point is. And what you're doing is actually setting you up for that place. But it's so hard in the moment to think of that perspective. It's so hard to zoom out and go, man, if I can, I've learned certain tools along the way. One of them is reminding myself that, we're on this spinning piece of rock going around the sun and that none of this really matters. But in those moments where you're low, to me, the hinge point has always been zooming out on my own life and saying, what is this moment in the grand scheme? And then going back into that moment as opposed to like just staying stuck in it.
Yeah, but, I mean, I feel like we got. I tell people I feel like I got lucky because something really terrible could have happened, but I just got fired from my job, and now it's given us this insight. I just had a buddy who recently lost his job, a very coveted job, and he was very down and depressed, and I was just like emphatically thrilled for him, like what's to come, because he was like in the lowest of the low, but I like had the ability to kind of guide him through, and so like thankfully like nothing obscenely terrible happened, like losing a child, or I know some of the guests you've have had some major things happen in their life that's been pretty bad. I mean, we haven't quite had that of yet, and so but we're getting good practice in when that time frame comes, framing your mind. But it's funny you put up that graph, Pi, and it's the same thing with I do that investing channel about stocks and real estate. And it's the same thing, you buy when it's low, you're excited when it's low for the potential. And it was just, I don't know, it's funny. It's like, that's the first thing I see because I look at graphs all day. So I was like,
that's cool.
Yeah.
But even in a market, when we're at those low points in a market, the number of people that see where it's going are few. The number of people that are panicking are many, whenever the market tanks like that. And so, yeah, I think that perspective is something that you learn over time. And it also makes you rethink the whole notion of stability. Remember in my very first episode with Goalie, we talked about stability. Like you go through college and life, and I had a very similar experience as you guys where my dad paid for my college education. I went and worked for Ernst & Young. I was an accountant. This was supposed to be my career and I hated it. And when I quit, he said, if I'd known that you were going to quit and go into photography, I would never have paid for your education. I'd never helped you.
Yes.
And I understood, like from their perspective, it's like we're throwing something completely away. And in reality, my accounting background and education and experiences have helped us to get to where we are right now. But that aside, like you went down a path of getting your degree, getting your job. This is supposed to be everybody's notion of stability. Like this is how you build a stable life. And then you get fired. And it's like, maybe I had that wrong. Or for the people that don't get fired, they just hate their jobs and they're mentally unstable. They're emotionally a wreck. My own father, he had to retire early from his job because of like just emotional stress. Like he had too much stress, too much anxiety around the people that he had to work with, everything, and eventually retired early. And it made me kind of question this notion of like, what is stability?
Yeah, when you say retire early, I think what Beth's life was like as a teacher, just having like hundreds of fourth graders say her name all day, and she would just come home at like 5:30 and just like crash like a tree onto the couch. And that being our life was like, it's just not, I don't think we were built for that. Maybe some people are, but it's funny, Pies. Now I think about the people who wanted that stable, like defined life where you go down that path. And I would never want to be in their shoes. In fact, awkwardly, I've had conversations of people who are still in that realm. And they like one of my buddies even said, boy, I wish I could just switch with you. Like, yeah, it's like have the freedom to come on this show. And then I have my hair doesn't look that great because I was driving in a 72 Cadillac Eldorado today down the road for lunch with the top down, the freedom is it's that instability that we had to go through to get to like a stability where we can do almost anything we want. And I could never, ever go back to something like that. I don't think, like being caged in. I was like super caged in, like it was worse than Office Space.
Well, Beth, when you were a school teacher, I guess the traditional definition of stability is having a consistent 9-to-5 job with a paycheck that comes every week. That's the clear definition of stability. The problem is that definition of stability for many people, if you fall into something that is not it's not in line with who you are, then you might be stable in terms of a job, like a teacher is a fairly stable position, but then you become unstable in your, emotional health, in your home life, in your personal life, all those other aspects. So I'm curious, what was teaching like for you, like on a day-to-day basis? What was that thing that Seth was talking about where you'd get home and crash?
Oh, so I guess I was one of those teachers that put like 110% into teaching. So by the time I got home, it just, I was so wore out just from school. And
you're
then
over volunteering, you're heading up like programs that you could have just walked away from.
Exactly. Like, I don't know that I just, I really love teaching so much. And if there was something that needed to be done, I was always the first person to sign up to do it. And at some point that just wears you down. So it was definitely a tough choice to not teach anymore because I did love it. So like, I just loved it. I mean, kids are so great. But for us, for our family, our boys are getting older now. And if we wanted to be like a coach and we wanted to, I really wanted to take on just working on the business more. Like I just find that to be so much fun, and networking and vendor relationships and just everything that goes into it. I enjoy that so much. So I don't know. I always told Seth, I was like, I could see myself I'm a happy person. So I can see myself being happy teaching. I can see myself being happy, like just totally committing myself to wedding photography. I can find happiness in so many places. So it just seemed right for our family if I just stopped teaching. So I did that, and I'm so happy that I did. Like I really am. Like I learned though that homeschooling is so different. Like when you have to teach your own children, like for that last year, we have a 5th grader and a 2nd grader, and it's totally not the same as a classroom teacher. Like
For sure.
It was tough.
Yeah.
So you guys go on this journey of launching the business. I know that now you've spun up several different things. I mean, you have your podcast, you have workshops and coaching for photographers, you have the actual wedding business. But getting this first business off the ground, what were the early days like? Because you mentioned that this was kind of more side hustle, and then it turned to. I'm very curious to go back to even as a side hustle, like. How are you gaining your first clients in that? You said it was through a couple friends, and then did it just go through network?
Yeah. So
it must have been like the basis was like Facebook and a really bad website.
Cheap prices.
Incredibly cheap prices.
Like not even inexpensive, just cheap.
Just cheap.
Yeah.
Like, what were your prices early on?
Oh, so it was $2,000 for full day coverage. I think it might have been unlimited or 12
Unlimited,
hours.
yes.
You got an album from Graphy Studio. You got an engagement session and all the digitals.
I would think that album cost a lot of money, doesn't it?
Well, I found out the year later when I had to build them. It's like when you first offer them, not so much. But we gave away the farm, and our life really changed, and our business really changed when we started, I think, valuing ourselves and not being afraid of money and not being afraid of charging people what we think we're worth. And so, and this came from the learning, this came from all the workshops we took, the 2-man workshop, Steve Saporito's workshop, Sam Hurd's workshop. I've been all over the place flying around. Both of us have been flying around, just learning about stuff that we didn't know. And so and that really helped. But the early days, they were fun. I mean, we were drawn to it. We had a blast shooting weddings. We thought at the time we were making some really great photos, which I'm still very proud of. But yeah, when we started the workshop tour and hitting up some of the better ones, Jeff Newsom, it really started changing everything for us, for sure.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is looking back, you can say that maybe your prices were cheap and whatnot, but I honestly feel like that is a critical step for photographers that many people don't realize, is that your first year or two needs to be kind of insanely cheap prices. I mean, like, you need to be hustling and grinding and getting those people, which, by the way, $2,000 isn't that bad. My very first wedding was free. The second one was like $500. I mean, for a very long time, I was below the $1,000 mark. And it wasn't till, 6 months in that we started raising those prices. But those early gigs at low price points are critical to cut your teeth, while, it's pretty easy to exceed expectations when the expectations are low.
That is so true. I never thought of it like that.
Did you go through this? I don't know if you've talked to other people, but it's named after some scientist. So it's like some scientist's last name, but it's basically a graph showing like how confident people are and how much experience they have. So when they first start, right? When they first start, your experience is very low, your confidence is way high. Then at some point, it crashes down and you have to start building it back up like a slow roller coaster. It's like, that was us. We were very overly confident right when we started. Like, oh my gosh, like these photos are the best and we're the best. We got everything figured out. We didn't have too much of a crash. I might have actually just skipped the crash because I was then able to say like, I want to learn more, like, and that's when we started learning. And then of course, then you look back like, what the hell were we thinking, doing, any of that? But I don't know. Have you heard of that?
Anthony, Anthony can look it up. I believe it's called the Dunn.
Oh yeah, okay.
Something Dunn-Meyer effect or whatever it is.
Brooks and Dunn. Yep.
Brooks,
sure.
yeah.
Brooks and Dunn.
Brooks and Dunn. I don't know if it's Brooks and Dunn, but it's yes, this effect that essentially it's the more you know, the more you realize how much you don't know. And the less you know, the more of a tendency you have to overestimate, how much you think you know. Yeah, I actually wrote about that recently in the book, and are you able to pull up the name? Is it the Dunn?
Looking for it right now.
Okay, he'll chime in with the official name of it. But yeah, that is
the Brooks and Dunn song.
Yeah, just sing
Brooks and Dunn, the Brooks and Dunn effect. That is something that I feel like every person goes through, most especially photographers. Photography, there's so much of it is tied to your ego. So it's not like when you're an accountant, someone telling you that you tied out something wrong is like, okay, I did it wrong, whatever. But when you're a photographer and someone's like, why would you take a picture like that? Like, that's like, well, why the hell not? That's the way I see the world.
The official name is the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Dunning-Kruger, that's what it is.
The
Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, like you're right. I don't know why I now know why we thought we were so wonderful at the time, and then of course you look back and wonder, why did we think that? But then again, like, I think it's this confidence that you need to start,
just get going,
all the things that, like, to get going, right?
Sometimes that's the hardest thing, is to actually get going. Like, so many people want to do something, but you have to have the confidence to get going.
Yeah, so I wanted you to have my partner on because I think he's incredibly interesting. His name's Paul Gabriel. We have a show here in Akron. And, he explained to me very early on, I'm sure he didn't coin this phrase, but he calls it the B to Y effect, and that everyone can think of step A and everyone can think of step Z. I want to be a millionaire. I want to have a flourishing business. But then actually doing the dirty, hard steps from like B, C, all the way F, G, all those little terrible ones that you might not want to do, that's where we fail. And so, like, the mapping out of like how to be successful,
like small business listings, signing up for small business listings. Those are the small things that, they're so painful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's sort of been our mantra, this B to Y aspect of like doing those little steps.
No, I agree. I talk about that often in I describe it as a passion for the process. I don't like I don't like people using the term passion loosely. I find it is becoming an offensive term, like, because they think that, you know, oh, I've got a passion for photography and like you should be a photographer. And that's exactly the A step, right? And then the Z step is, as a photographer, I have the freedom and I can do whatever I want and I can live the lifestyle that I want to. But you can be passionate about A and Z very easily. But the B to Y, the all the steps in between, to me, that's what you have to be passionate about. So if you're going to be a professional photographer, you have to be passionate about the steps in between, the process. So I always describe it as being passionate about the process, not the outcome, not the result. But I feel like that's one of people's big failing points in launching anything. I feel like the other piece is failure to launch, where they iterate and conceptualize and iterate repeatedly to get something perfect. You know, whether it's a photograph, whether it's a physical product, whether it's a service, they just continually get in this loop of like, oh, you know what, it's not quite good enough. I got to redo it. I got to redo it. It's not there yet. I got to redo it. And it's when I'm ready, I'm going to launch this thing. And they don't realize that, like, this is what I described earlier, that, you know, when it came to the podcast, we put a hard date. I mean, Seth remembers, we put a hard date.
I remember it, yeah. And there were times I was like, we're not going to launch this podcast on this date. I mean, what is this guy talking about? But sure enough, we did. You know,
yeah.
You were there.
It was just like, it doesn't matter if the first episodes are not that great. It doesn't. And sure enough, like, if people can buy into the idea that your first anything is just going to suck, your first 100 is just going to suck, then it becomes easier than to say, I'm going to release and reiterate and let the market guide. You
Your
said giggity?
first anything sucks. Giggity, giggity.
Giggity.
Well, that's where I was. Okay, Pi. So where is this thin line of having the courage to know having the knowledge, being confident that you're going to being confident to be awesome, but then also having the knowledge that you're probably going to suck is like, this is this thin line that, I don't know. It's confusing at times, you know, like having the courage to go out and do something, but then having the knowledge. I mean, it must take more experiences than it has to know that it's probably going to suck in the beginning and just go for it, right? As opposed to overanalyze and overthink things.
I think it's exactly what you just said. It's having the courage, having the confidence to know that you will learn it, with the open-mindedness to know that I don't know it all. I think that's the critical balance. I've had so many workshop attendees. I can remember one very vividly. Like, I even remember her name, and this was 7 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember any people's names, but this one had such an impression on me, where I'm teaching like how to see the light. Like, how do you see the light? How do you take a dynamic photograph? How do you shape and contour with just natural light? And she has her, do you remember those giant bulbous flashes that go onto the camera with like a big weird head?
Yes.
They had these like big weird round heads that you point at stuff.
Yeah.
She had that on the camera, and I set up the scene perfectly, and I have each student come in, and she comes in and just nukes it with flash. Everybody else is shooting it natural the way I've set it up. They're dialing their exposures, they're practicing, they're understanding. She comes in and nukes it with flash. And I go, you know, you're going to get to a much better place. We're going to call her Karen. Karen, you're going to get to a much, I feel bad for anybody that's actually named Karen these days.
My sister's
Your
name's
sister's Karen? I'm so
She's
sorry.
kind of a Karen, though, so that's between you and I.
And everyone else.
and everyone on this podcast. But Karen comes up and blasts them with flash, and I immediately know what kind of shot she got. And I'm like, Karen, I think you're going to get to something much more interesting if you kind of take the flash off, turn it off, and just follow what we're doing. She's like, no, I know what you're going for, and I like the look that I have. And I'm like, Karen, this class was $1,500 for 2 days. Why are you here spending like $1,500 when, you know, like, I get it. You know what you want, so go and create whatever you want. Why are you spending $1,500 to come and like not follow or not listen? But that's a lot of people. Like,
yeah, I was going to ask you, you must come across this. I mean, I've definitely had sit down lunches where people asked me for guidance in their business, like they must be asking you, and then you help them, and then they retort with, no, I got it. I'm great. And you're like, what are we doing here?
No, I'm already doing that. I'm already doing that.
My clients don't buy albums, or you know what I mean? Like,
or that'll never work.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but that's
Yeah.
that willingness to be open to learn.
Yeah, so I think it comes with what you're saying is confidence to go out and do, knowing that you will become good, with the understanding that, there's always going to be so much to learn. So some people do it better than others. But it's interesting going back to your guys's, I'm curious, this entire jump into photography, whose thing was that more of? Was that more Seth leading the way? Was it more Beth's thing? Whose thing was this?
I always had a camera, and I really wanted like expensive newborn photography photos. And I was like, I told Seth, I was like, this is probably going to cost us like $2,000. And he's like, well, why don't I just like buy you a $2,000 camera and then you can just take the pictures yourself? And I was like, all right, yeah, let's do that. And so like Seth's like a ultra researcher. He likes to research. So I would like show him a photo and be like, I would like our newborn photo to look like this. And he'd be like, okay, well, it looks like we need some off-camera flash. So we'd like go and we'd like buy some flashes, and then we'd set them up at home, and then
just fire them at the child. Just like full blast. Like
the child's bright in these photographs, so we just need to point all the lights we can get.
Exactly, like multiple sides on a pale skinned child.
And then
your son is 6 shades darker after the photo shoot.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's how it started. But they were okay. They were okay, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they were, as you can imagine. So, but then after that, it was like editing. Like, okay, I think we need to buy this program called Lightroom. And then with Lightroom, we'll be able to edit the photos. And then it just was one thing after the other. And then all of a sudden, I remember we bought a 50 mil. And Seth said, with this lens, we're going to be wedding photographers.
Summon the greatness.
With this lens, we are gods.
50 mil, 1.8, $200 lens. Oh my God.
Oh, that's the nifty 50.
Yeah, that's that low depth of field pie. This is what all photographers are going after.
I was like, what? You think we're going to be wedding photographers? He's like, we are. I really think so. And I was like, all right. We were like I said, I remember where all important conversations happens. We were sitting on the couch, and he's like, should we do it? Like, should we be wedding photographers? I was like, let's just do it. And if it doesn't work out, oh well. Like, then we'll just not be wedding photographers anymore. And it was like that first year we had 28 weddings. So
that's crazy.
We were doing it. We were wedding
that's
photographers
wild.
for real.
Oh,
I don't know why people hired us. I mean, we had like a 17 photo portfolio on Facebook and a really bad website, but that was that.
Yeah.
That was great. And those couples, we're still friends with some of them today.
I know exactly why they hired you. And I think the reason that most photographers can't find the work that they want, and they don't, it's what they often miss. And it's just the fact that they're buying you two. I mean, your early clients are buying Seth and Beth. That is far more important, especially in the early days of your business, than any portfolio image. I mean, the portfolio images get somebody at the table, like your website gets them at the table, gets them on the phone call. At that point, they're buying you.
Yeah, our first name used to be S and B. We decided to not use BS photography, but we went with S and B.
Or
and
sons of bitches.
Someone else told us, like, you guys are just Seth and Beth. And I was like, really? We should change our name and our website? And so that rebrand definitely helped us.
It did.
The names are great. And I really thank you for changing yours to Beth.
You're welcome.
For the website and everything. That's really nice of you. But yeah, you're right, Pi. That has really done well for us. I mean, we definitely incorporate the idea that like we're gonna be very charismatic and joyful on your wedding day, and like family photos can be crazy, but we're gonna have fun because I can like talk to the kids and have a good time.
Did you know Seth can he has the most legit Elmo voice of all time?
Wait, now we gotta hear it.
Just do it.
So, Pi,
on cue.
Do you have some shtick to like get people to laugh? What is your shtick? Like, what do you do? Or you just tell them who you are and they just bow down to you in your glory, I assume?
Nobody knows my name. I don't know what you guys think happens. Nobody knows who I am. But I don't know that I do awkward humor pretty well. Like,
Okay.
like I'll see a brother and sister, and I'll be like, "You two are a couple, right?" And they're like, "No, we're brother and sister." I'm like, "Well, we're gonna make you a couple anyway. Like, we're just gonna do
I do
this."
love that. Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, so
I do that
like-
kind of stuff.
Obviously we had a kid. I've always been in like little puppets and things my whole life. I love like the Muppets and all this stuff. And so I developed this Elmo voice, which I'm really doing for the children, but inevitably makes all the parents laugh
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
So
100%.
you're behind the camera, you're stuck. Hey everybody, it's Elmo. So be like, hey. Be like,
That's so good.
We do get like the best family photos from that.
Yeah, the kids, they love it, you know, and then the next thing you know, grandma loves it.
Oh my
So,
gosh,
yeah.
that's so
I was
good.
walking around, and now the mask really tricks the kids because I'm covered up. I'm just like, oh, yeah. So that's my claim to fame. So if the position becomes available, I will be switching careers very soon to Sesame Street.
Another new career.
Yep, we'll do that too.
Well, you've got that down. Yeah. Yeah. What's Beth's thing? Do you have a thing?
Oh no, I just tell everyone they're cute. Oh my
You
gosh,
just
you're
bombard them with
so
happiness.
Cute. Like that's so cute.
But you're very-
and this is
It's very like you
I mean,
really
but
light
it
up a
is
room.
cute. Yeah.
Yeah. it's like
I mean,
that.
I'm not going to tell them if it's not cute.
That's
Well,
true.
That's yeah.
You know, my last guest actually today told me about a shirt that she saw, and it said like something. I love when you paraphrase things that happened like 10 minutes ago and you get it completely wrong, which I'm about to
Story's
do
going
right
well
now.
already. Keep going.
But it's the solution to every problem is like just be more you. Just be more you is the answer.
But what if you're an asshole pie?
Oh.
Okay, don't be more of that. Like nobody needs more of that. But for you guys, like what you're saying, because I feel like a lot of people are gonna hear this, and the tendency, if you're new to something, is to be like, oh, I just need to be like Seth and be Elmo, and you're gonna have like some brown Iranian guy look in the mirror and he's like, hi, and it's gonna be
bro.
like, that does not work
have it.
at all.
It just worked.
But
So
That was
listen,
cute.
I'll tell you what. I would
wait. The point is, you guys are being yourselves. That's what I'm saying. Is like, this is you.
listen.
Beth.
I would disagree because the whole time I just tried to be somebody who was better than me. That's like my running joke in life is I would just pick someone who I thought was better than me in life. I would just try and be them as much as I could. And inevitably it became me. People talk to me, why would you want to be Jerry Gahanis? Why would you want to shoot like 2-man? We can't take 10,000 photos of wedding day. That's stupid. They're
Oh.
working too hard. That's ridiculous. Don't be like them. I was like, I want to be like them. And so sure enough, I say giggity behind the camera because Jerry Gahanis always said giggle. And we do shoot 12,000 photos on a wedding day, just like 2-man. Inevitably, we have this whole different look that we're very proud of. But haven't you noticed? I've always strived to just like pick someone very famous. Your voice has echoed through this house, Pie, because she listens to your.
Our kids just walked in the door.
I know who
I'm
you
not even kidding. And they looked at me and they mouthed, that's Pie. Because they know
That's
like, you know,
hilarious.
I work on those SLR lounge workshops, you know, and I'm just always like, I'll be like cutting up vegetables and like
Yes, watching you.
on my, and so they're like, oh, what's Pie talking about now? I'm like, backlinks. We're learning about backlinks, honey.
Backlinks. They're like, ooh, that sounds great.
But like one path that I don't think people are open enough to take is like you can just try and be like someone and inevitably become yourself. That's just really powerful for me. I actually did wanted to be more like these people. If I could just emulate them more. This doesn't go over well with many people.
That's what I'm getting at is that you're taking a piece of what Jerry does or what 2-man does and you're making it your own. And that's what I'm trying to say is you can't be Jerry. I tried. I did the exact same thing that you did. And I started walking and be like, hey, sweetie, like whatever the hell Jerry does. Like how does anybody imitate?
Gently, darling.
Yeah. Come on, darling. And someone said in a video like, ew, that is disgusting. And I was like, I'm never doing that again. So then I was like, you know, what Jerry is he's being personable and he's being relatable in his way. So let me take that lesson and make it my own. How do I be personable and relatable? And for me, it came down to like awkward humor. Like I joke around and I'm like, when we go out and like YouTube shoots, I will literally tell models or whoever's working with me, I'm like, look, we're just going to be hanging around for 4 hours. If we happen to get a good shot, great. If not, at least we had fun. Like that's more of who I am. So I guess what I'm saying is what you're talking about is taking lessons and making them you. And that's exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying not to do is I can't go and become Elmo. Like, that would be inauthentic to who I am, and I would probably be a very sucky version of Seth.
Yeah, I'm still learning this. I mean, I go back to our YouTube channel, and again, my buddy Paul. I'm going to talk about him over and over because he's such a guiding force in my life. But he's very adamant of like, we're going to stay our course. We're not going to do the BS that other channels do.
Yeah.
I can't live a life that's not me. And I would argue with him like, no. We got to promote this, and we got to be more like this guy. And I'm sure enough, he was right. He's always been right about like trying to, if you go off path, get back on the path of what you're good at. And so I can't wait for you guys to talk because I just think it would be an incredible conversation.
That's gonna be a lot of fun.
I love him, I love you, and I'd love to see the two of you have at it. So
so much love happening.
I love you.
Beth, have you guys seen the chicken strips sound yet? With the chicken strips. Have you guys heard that?
Is this a TikTok thing or something?
It's the latest TikTok trend, the chicken strips.
Oh.
I wonder if I can find it on my phone right now. I bet I can.
We love that because we have kids that'll just like, we can show them hilarious stuff, and then like it's a talking point in our house. Like have you ever seen this puppy dog that's dancing in a box? You ever seen this one? Equally as hilarious.
Puppy dog dance in a box like this.
Somebody recorded their little dog like bopping his head and then put hip hop music to it. And we have one of those little dogs that we're looking at right now. And so, if you send us anything like that, it'll be like a talking point in our house.
Well,
like
this
Carol
is like,
Baskin.
Yeah. Oh, I can't. I'm gonna have to find it later, or maybe Anthony can find it while we're chatting. But this thing is like, it's everywhere, and people are, because on TikTok you find, they find these good sounds and they just start putting these good sounds to like any video whatsoever. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah, we can't hear it on our end.
Where's you can't hear it on your end?
No.
Wait, play it again, Anthony.
I have to switch it over to YouTube if you guys are cool with that.
Yeah. Quickly demonetized.
I always try to talk like the girl and the guy from Schitt's Creek to Seth. So I'll be like,
Ew, David.
Oh, David. That's enough. David.
Dude, I love that stuff. I love that stuff. I will latch on to like little sound bites. Because on my show, what I'm missing right now, is on my show, we have like sound drops, effects.
Yeah.
So like I have like little John being like, yeah. And I have like ain't nobody got time for that. So like when someone says something stupid, I can hit these little sound effects, And
Anthony,
I love it.
this is really level 2. We need to.
I need it.
We'll get to graduate to this level. So you guys have your wedding business. You're selling Seth and Beth, the dream, the model. You guys are out there. What are some of the challenges that you all encountered as you were transitioning now into full time?
Some challenges transitioning full time.
Telling our parents we're not using our degrees,
Right.
and everyone else.
Yeah.
Which
I guess some like life stuff, like Seth in his chemistry job had incredible retirement.
I see.
It was like, like grown up stuff challenges, right? Like health insurance, having to buy health insurance. Those were just things we took for granted. I didn't know that to buy health insurance was going to be so much money. Or I remember saying like, okay, so are there some federal government so that they'll match how much money that we're putting away? And so it's like, no, the government doesn't match our retirement. I'm like, oh, why not?
Yeah, do you see this a lot with the people you teach, Pi, is like the idea of like investing retirement is like not a photography type thing. Right? Like they don't go hand in hand.
This is why I think we've been successful as photographers, because we came into it from an accounting perspective, finance, business. That was our background. So I think that helped tremendously. I think most photographers come into it from a creative and artist perspective, and they try to learn the business side. I think the business side actually takes longer to learn than the artist side.
Oh yeah, like now 10 years later, like actually clicking a button on a camera is like that's like the smallest, simplest step of what we do is like all the back end stuff. I would say like having that chemistry job gave me a big blanket of like savings where we could probably go for it a little bit more
Yeah.
than maybe someone coming out of college with some debt. Like we had a massive amount of savings for our retirement saved up. And so we were a little more courageous in doing that. But what do you think about other transitions from going full time? Learning more about learning, like all those workshops we went to. In-person sales has been a humongous switch for
Yeah.
us. Huge,
Yeah.
huge. Which I can't believe still to this day is not even that popular with a lot of photographers. You must see as well. Is like some people are still like, no, I'm cool. Just digital. It's just like we're great. I'm like, boy, you guys are really, you and your clients are both really missing out on something great.
And that's what a lot of it is, like with the in-person. I always think that if you don't, you know, include some sort of printed product in your packages, what are your couples doing with their photos? Like they're just digital images forever.
floating in a sea of the cloud.
Like, I find it to be, as a parent of small children, it's important for them to look at our photos on the wall and just to be reminded that they come from loving parents, that they live in a loving house, and this is our family, even on days where maybe we aren't being as kind as we should be to each other. Like, we are still a family even on the tough days, and you have to print photos off and hang them on the wall to remind yourself. So
I feel like it's getting better, Pi, but you still seeing it? How is that the in-person sale like mindset out there nowadays?
I mean, I always teach that you have to. I teach that you can go either way with the business, and you can do well in either setup. What I try to tell people is that you need to design your business to be centered around who you are as a person. You know, like I know a lot of photographers who they have incredible portfolios. They do wonderful work. They are exceptional at everything. But if you actually put them into a room in a one-on-one sales situation, they would shit the bed and like they can't do it. They would undersell and lose money in the process. And so for those people who, you know, there's a lot of people that don't want to learn sales. They're uncomfortable doing sales. That's not a piece of the business that they want. I would say, you know, a boutique digital model where you're charging a significant amount up front and then giving them what they want, that's the right way to go for you, because they don't want to deal with it. They don't find joy in that process. So, and on the other side, there are plenty of people that do adopt the IPS models. But I feel like it has to be designed around your values. You know, like for you two, I would say IPS is a grand slam. But that has to do with, once again, Seth and Beth. You're selling Seth and Beth. You put two people in the room or one person in the room that is not nearly as charismatic, that is uncomfortable in front of the clients, that can't ask for money, that can't do any of those things, and an IPS model is going to sink their ship. So that's my take on it, you know, is that you either have to have the desire to be one-on-one with clients, you have to have that interest and be willing to learn or already have that skill set, or you have to design your model where that's not a piece of what you deliver.
How often are you seeing, because I saw this so much with people who contacted us for some guidance, and like my first steps is trying to teach younger folks or people who are first starting the idea that like money is not bad, charging it is not a bad thing, making it is not a bad thing, becoming wealthy is not a bad thing. Like they're almost scared to even make money or ask for money. Like, do you see that too?
Oh yeah, people have very deep, weird relationships with money. Over the years, I've internalized and been able to kind of, you know, my dad was one of those people who was always talking about saving a penny. You know, he was clipping coupons. He was, you know, penny saved is a penny earned, that type of Ben Franklin philosophy. And from my perspective, all I saw was, this is weird because as a kid, I saw this. I was like, Dad, you spend hours trying to save a few dollars, you know, why not just spend those hours making a few more dollars? You know, what's the downside? And he would always tell me, and he can never get that point across. It was one of the frustrations that he always had was like, whenever I see something that I wanted, I would just go buy it. And then I would focus the rest of my time on making more money. Like that is my philosophy. And later in life, when I was 35, I actually was able to, describe what it was, my feeling about money. And my feeling about money is that it's a form of energy. When I earn money, what I'm earning is the ability to store other people's time and energy. My bank account is a bank account that gives me the right to call upon other people, whether it's in the form of a product or a service, and to say, I would like your energy in exchange for this thing. So that relationship with money has always been around my life. It wasn't until my 30s that I was able to actually describe what it was, but it's helped tremendously because what it really is a responsibility. When I think of, if you want more money, then you need to essentially put more energy out into the world and to expand who you are helping. So the more people that I can provide to, the more people that I can help, the more energy comes back to me. And the more of that control that I have in my bank account. But most artists, they think of money as something weird, something dirty for the suits, So I try to talk about the concept of energy a lot. And I said, instead of thinking of money as something dirty, think of it as energy. So you're going to put your energy out into the world and you're going to ask for energy in return. And that's all it is.
Man, I'm kind of speechless. I've never heard that sort of.
I never heard that either.
Heard that. It must be wrong.
Does it?
Gotcha.
Does it make sense or does it?
Yeah,
not?
no. It's a better way to reframe it. I mean, I might very well use it in an upcoming example because
Trademark Pi Jersa.
Yeah.
Copyright.
Properly
All rights reserved.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's really that fear, and I think it starts internally of like overcoming like. If I want to try to become wealthy or even, oh my God, even rich, like, am I a bad person? Or like, who do I have to screw over to make money? Or who's losing in this game of making money? I think initially people might think, well, my clients, if they're paying us money for their albums, then they're losing and we're winning. In reality, it's like we've found that the people that pay us a lot for a bunch of albums, they end up giving the albums away for their parents. They enjoy this. It's like they're actually winning and we are too. It's not like a zero-sum game. It's like we can both have a better business and create happier clients. And so, but there was definitely some fear with us, like overcoming the idea of like, we can try and make money and be a successful business and not be bad people. And
well, that's the nice way of reframing the idea of money. And in the terms that I know there's lots of different analogies for it, but I like the term of energy because it's like, if you're giving me $3,000 for an album, I'm not ripping you off. I'm saying that, look, this is the amount of time and energy it takes me to do this. And this is the time and energy that I'm asking of you in return. And if my savings account has hundreds of thousands of dollars in it, or if I'm buying an expensive home or whatever it might be, that money that you have, what is a home? A home is the energy of 10 to 20 different people who have put their time and effort into designing that thing. And the end result is something that you can live in. But what you're looking at is the result of combined effort and energy across all these different people. Your bank account it's not something to be ashamed of. If you have hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in your bank account, you can use it for good or for bad, but what you really have at the end of the day is the ability to control energy. And most of the millionaires that I know use that for good. Most of them are solid people that just want to find other ways of contributing. And so, but yeah, it is one of those things that has to be taught to creatives, especially because I think creatives, most everybody has a weird relationship with money. A lot of people look at it as control. A lot of people look at it as, something evil.
I think, Seth put it in perspective not that long ago for me, something I never thought of. So our friend Paul that he's referred to, he's like, he makes a lot of money, like multi-million dollars. And the amount of families and people that he independently has impacted by creating businesses and hiring people, or even like us, like we needed insurance. And so he created a position for Seth
That's right.
so we could have incredible health insurance.
Yeah. So on the outside, I think maybe if you watch our YouTube channel, you might say, like, who is this know-it-all guy that is we get this comment a lot. It's like, well, if you're so wealthy, why would you have a YouTube channel? It's like, well, he loves teaching and helping, but just his effort and his energy that he's put out there has created 15 businesses, hundreds of employees. We share some help, overseas employees, homes in Mexico. I mean,
or even like on your podcast, like there are so many success stories of people that were in serious debt, didn't know how they were going to retire. They didn't know how to retire. How do I save? How do I even, and with just his tutelage, like
tutelage.
I know I like that word, tutelage. Now, I mean, literally thousands of people, because of this YouTube channel, like their family is saved. They now know how they're going to retire and the right steps to do that throughout the rest of their life. And I don't know. So like you were saying, like there are some many super wealthy people out there that are like, they want to help people as well. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. And for those that use, their money wisely, I mean, you're talking about, we invest back into our businesses. We help to create jobs. We do. I mean, I think a lot of people have the tendency to think that, most people that have a lot of money just leave their money in a bank account. And that's not really the truth. They're usually putting that money to work. So I want to help every creative and every artist, fill their bank account like that. The goal is, you should all be striving to save and to have hundreds of thousands of dollars, not only to fall back on, but to make something interesting happens in life when what you're doing is no longer being driven by money, right? When money is taken care of, when you're providing for yourself and everything is good on that side, then you start making these decisions that have a broader impact. And the result of it is usually you make more money. I always go back to this thing of like, if you want to make your first $100,000, you have to figure out how to help a certain number of people. Now, the more, let's say, specialized your product is, the fewer those number of people that you need to help. The less specialized your product is, let's say a burger, then if you want to make $100,000 with burgers, you need to sell 10,000 burgers. But if you want to make $100,000 in wedding photography that's highly specialized, you're talking 30 clients, maybe 40 clients, when you're earlier on. But to expand the bucket, if you want to go then to the next step and you want to become a millionaire, all you really need to do is find a way to multiply how many people you're helping or affecting. For the burger, it's figuring out, well, if I can only serve 10,000 people, in the course of a year, then I need a second store location, or I need a second, another thing. You just add to the amount of energy you're essentially putting out. On the wedding side, it's okay, well, if I'm maxing out my own ability, then maybe I need to bring in a team. Maybe I need to have an associate. Maybe I need to have other people that can help to amplify what I'm doing and to help more people. Maybe I need to train other photographers to do this. So from that perspective, it becomes very easy to grow your business into scale, and simply energy out is energy in, and to be able to save more. But like your friend, he's finding ways to affect more and more people's lives. And that all comes from a place of not being hungry today. When you're hungry today, when you need to put food on the table and you need to put a roof over your head right now, you make decisions that are short term. And that's the problem, is that without a savings account, without the ability to be able to fall back on something, you make very close-minded, short-term decisions just to get to the next pay cycle. Versus when you're not in that position, you make long-term decisions that end up dramatically multiplying the amount of money that you have. It's almost unfair in a way, because we have to start at the place where you worry about putting money on the, putting food on the table today. And eventually you get to a place where you can think long-term. Not that many people are born into a situation where they can just think long-term.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as you're saying that, I'm realizing how incredibly lucky we are to have, married parents who devoted their whole lives to our education and they're still in our lives. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we've probably had it pretty easy compared to a lot of people.
Right.
Our album company, Blacksmith, Brady very well, Pi, and the stories that other people have. The guy lived in his car for a certain amount of time. His parents weren't around, and now he has this flourishing business. I mean, he's definitely had it a lot harder than us.
Right.
And so I guess I don't want, maybe now that you say that, I feel like a crybaby because we've had it pretty damn easy compared to maybe what a lot of people are going through. I mean, not everybody can do all the things we're talking about, and so, but.
No, everybody has their own challenges, man. I mean, none of this is to say that losing your job with a PhD, that's not easy. Like pivoting with a PhD, are you kidding me? That is not an easy thing. Same thing with walking away from teaching. Even though you love teaching, walking away from it to focus on, the family and creating a different life, that's very, very difficult. There's a lot of internal struggles that I feel like we deal with when we go through stuff like that, because we almost feel like not only are we letting other people around us down, but in a way where it can feel like you're giving up on yourself or letting yourself down.
Right.
So yeah, dude, everybody has their fair share of struggles. Granted, there are people that everyone starts out at these different kind of starting points and stuff, and that's probably the least fair thing about life. But what you guys have accomplished is incredible. Now, going back to the wedding business, I've loved certain things that you guys have done. Like you have a lot of content that surrounds the entire business. I noticed that you guys have the podcast, and you guys have the podcast labeled out. This is the podcast for clients. This is the one for photographers. You have tons of content, that helps to educate and teach. What was the drive and the impetus for that? I know Seth's background is podcasting.
So I was going to say, my second job was I was helping a company in Columbus develop their marketing, their video, a guy who really wanted to be like Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, make those constant social media videos. So I got in the realm of like taking a lot of photos and videos and making like little hype videos out of them. We developed a podcast through them that was very successful. The last podcast I ever did with them was Urban Meyer was on the show, which was a crowning the football coach. So I was like, the best podcast I ever got. Sorry, can you hear our dog whining? Sorry, Pi. I know he's all fired up. There's kids running through the
No.
The best podcast I ever did was my last one before I got let go with Urban Meyer. It was quite exciting. But that was the basis of it. It's like all we had to do like this is just set up 2 mics, and all of a sudden you can start becoming a content creator if you had something to say.
We had been photographers for like 8 years at that point. So I was like, babe, you have all this knowledge with, like podcasting. At that time, podcasting was just taking off, like it wasn't as easy to set up a podcast.
This wasn't easy either.
And that's in the, and so he was traveling, like he would travel to California. He had traveled all over the place to do all these podcasts. I said, hey, what happens if we went to some of our favorite venues in Ohio and just podcasted with them and learned what makes them such a unique venue, or just why we love them so much. I feel like other people need to know about these venues. So
because all the venues have, their marketing is always not very much at all. You're lucky to get a couple photos, let alone a moving picture. So we would drag these cinema cameras down there and a podcast board. I'd set it up like a lunatic, sweat my butt off while Beth smooches the guests, and we'd have a podcast in these venues. And sure enough, it was incredibly easy to get on their preferred vendor page because now they loved us, we loved them. We basically did a free commercial for them, and we got to pick that up once COVID.
That's the beautiful thing about the concept of energy, right? Because you basically are just putting. You're putting your time and your effort, your energy into these other people's businesses. Now, how does that return to you with each of these episodes?
It's great. So I would say not only does it help our relationship with the different vendors or venues, but also then other couples that inquire, they're like, oh, we're getting married in September at Franklin Park Conservatory. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, we podcast with them. Let me send you over the podcast. You can learn about the venue. And so for them, they're like, wow, you have such a wonderful relation. That's very important to us. So they love how we know so much about Franklin Park. We're such good friends with them. And now they're learning even more about their own venue or a venue that they're interested in. So, I mean, it's like a total win all over the place.
And in the end, it took us
this.
about like a half hour to set up the cameras, a half hour to shoot, and then a half hour to take it down. It's like, I complained the whole time, of course, but I mean, in the end, I mean, it just like, we're preferred vendors at these places, and we've been there like one time in like 10 years. Like, we keep getting leads. It's just been incredible. Our lead generation. It's just, and this is what she works on. Like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, because she works so hard on like this networking and lead generation. And so, yeah, so that's how,
pretty great.
So developing that podcast with the Columbus company, getting let go from them, and then developing this show, Everything Money is our YouTube channel, which is why I've always been enamored with the idea of money, how to save it, how to make more of it, how to not fear it. But that's the show, Everything Money, on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so we set up that sort of podcast type setup. And like I said, we've been doing it for the past 2 years. At times, one of my dear friends in the world, this will probably go down as like one of the quotes of history in our lives, is like a dear friend of mine. We showed him the show around Christmas. He said, "Why would you do a podcast that gets 17 views?" And somehow I was wise enough to be like, well, you have to get 17 before you can get 18. And sure enough, now Pi, with 25, even with just 25,000 subscribers, like, we'll put a video up and get 1,000 views in a day, which is like monumental.
You got your whole channel got 1 million views.
Oh yeah. So we just celebrated 1 million views just yesterday,
so awesome,
of our channel. So yeah, it's like growing crazy now. And it's just that work that we put in, that energy you're talking about. I like now.
Yeah,
I really like what you're
the
energy of like going in a studio like you are right now, not getting any money for it, and like putting forth the effort of like, by the way, you can make checks payable to Seth Kerechanin when you pay for it. But like, not making any money and like putting forth the effort to like give to other people. That's probably something that really helped us, is like give first and expect the money later, is like, yeah. So
reciprocation's a powerful social law.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, for a lot of creatives and a lot of artists, we talked earlier about how I think that your cheapo days were absolutely pivotal to your growth as a business. I think it's pivotal. It's critical to everybody in their early days, because those are your opportunities to actually get out, to create those networks, to start building relationships. And I go back to like, I get so many students that I can recall one person that I was coaching, and I don't recall ever being this offended coaching somebody in my life. Like, I was offering her basically free coaching sessions, and it was kind of just like a friend. And I go, I get that you have shot one $3,000 wedding. That's fantastic. But you're not ready yet to list your prices as $3,000. You don't have a book of business. People don't know you yet. You're not going to get people. And she goes, my get out of bed rate, and this was something that I told her about, my get out of bed rate is $3,000. And I go, that can only be your get out of bed rate when people are willing to pay it. There's nobody willing. And she's like, I'm just not willing to devalue myself. And I go, if you can't do that, I don't know that you're going to get this thing off the ground. And she just said, well, I don't really want to do things the way that you have. I don't think that, that's right for me. And I don't really agree with the decisions that you've made. And I was like, why am I sitting here right now not charging you, and you're telling me this? And anyway, it was the last time that I ever talked to her, the last time I ever sat with her, any of those things. And it's not that I want to be, I don't want to be proven right, especially in this circumstance. I don't want someone to fail in their business. That's why I was sitting with her. But sure enough, a year later, she's like, yeah, I just decided that you can't make money in photography. That's what she told me. This was a person that I knew from church. So a year later, she tells me at church, I just feel like you can't make money in wedding photography. And I was like, okay, cool.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I don't see the listing your prices. I don't care if it's $250. I don't care if it's $500. I don't care if it's $0. Getting out of your home and putting energy into the world and going and actually taking photographs and building relationships, that is better than sitting at home waiting for somebody to pay what you're asking for when nobody's willing to pay what you're asking for. Like, working for $0 is better than sitting at home asking for 3,000. So
Agreed.
it was a concept that I never understood, and you guys have laid it out pretty perfectly. Like it's all the steps that I actually have in our business program. Like when you working with other vendors is so simple. Find a way to help their business. That's it.
Yeah.
Find a way to help their
That's
business.
been a long time to understand. But I mean, like, I always like yearned, like, how do we get in with these people? And then it's just like this gal just like calls them, offers them if we can take their headshot or a family
Right.
session, or sets up and sure enough, that here come the weddings from these connections. It's just been incredible. In fact, I don't even want to tell other photographers. She's just slaying it. Like I just want to keep it to ourselves. It's just like,
It's funny. You were talking about like even photographing or like putting your energy out there for $0. Like so often, Seth and I will come down on our photography package pricing just so we can work with awesome couples. Like because sometimes you like jive with people right away, and we will. I mean, sometimes we'll, I don't know, come down a lot just because we want to work with them. Like for us, I would much rather work with awesome people and be because then it doesn't even feel like work.
For sure.
And that's what, for me, like I just love living life that feels good and it's fun. And if that means I'm not making as much money as I could, I'd rather do that than work with a couple that
we don't connect with, or
right.
Yeah,
we can already see problems with. Oh my gosh.
That's not too often.
That does.
Beth, what are some of the other strategies that you're using to kind of help get people in the door, to build leads, to market?
Well, so the whole vendor thing was a big one for us. So I am now watching for the second time the SLR workshop, Business 101. Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, I think marketing specifically is 301. But yes.
Oh, 301. Yes.
But
yes.
yeah, this is the business training system. It's like everything.
I already watched it once and I'm just rewatching it again. I don't know, because you ever did I don't know. I feel like I'm just relearning or learning new bits and pieces and stuff like that. But the vendor part was a really big one. So like on there, you had like this Excel spreadsheet where you already had listed out like name and location and, phone number, email. But then, you know what it was? I like the columns about the follow-up. So sometimes if like there's like a specific venue that I want, I don't know, I got real sad. Like we were preferred vendors. They would refer us to so many great weddings. We loved working there. And then the referrals stopped. And I was watching your workshop and you're like, you know what? Maybe they have a new coordinator and you've never met them. So you have to like write down, when was the last time you reached out to them? And so I looked on the column and I was like, oh, it was like 6 months ago, Seth and I last photographed there.
You'll just straight up cold call these people.
Well, you know what it is? This is a good idea, Pi. So I go on The Knot and Google and I review them and then I call them to tell them that I reviewed them. So it
That's
kind of
awesome.
like gives me, right? So then I'm
That's
like, hey, you know what? I was just thinking about how much I love working. Seth and I just love, like even the vendor meals. You have the best vendor meals in Columbus. And I was like, I need to tell them, I need to write on Google how amazing your food is. And I just wanted to call, see how things are. And so since then, now the referrals are coming back around. Now
That's
things
rad.
are picking. Yeah. So.
Well, and it looks like SEO is part of your guys' strategy too, because a lot of your content, it looks very SEO driven.
So I've been using this new program called Uber Suggest. I spell it wrong every time. Have you ever heard of it?
I don't think so.
So it tells me like what my domain score is, how many backlinks. Yeah, you can like go into your competitor.
Yeah, we do have stuff like that.
Yes, she's been on a mad tear.
So I can see like how I rank for certain like keyword searches, and then or I can see like how my competitors rank for what keyword searches. I get like blog posts, keyword ideas off of that. I mean, I'm on that like every day.
I think the biggest transition she made, Pi, maybe she learned this from you, but like the idea of writing a blog is just not to say, look at my images and read this fluff, but like all of the stuff that Beth does is really just a celebration of everyone else that's involved. Is this what
it's not even our photos, right? Like it's a celebration of all the vendors,
the florist, the
that
tux,
were a part
the cake,
of that
the
day.
venue.
Absolutely.
And that has just made like an incredible change in even our mindset. Even like all the photos I take, like, wow, I'm thinking about Lanny and Erica on my shoulders telling me to like get underneath a bride or flip upside down and do a backflip while I'm taking photos. Is I'm also thinking like we're really celebrating like the venue and the bow tie maker and the florist, people who probably don't care about us at all. And when we started celebrating them, it's really been paying us dividends, no pun intended.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one of the pieces that I don't know where, Beth, I feel like you probably learned this stuff just intuitively, but yes, that is one of the pieces we teach people is like, what makes you think as the photographer that this is your show? I mean, your photographs look great because of all the hard work that everybody else has put into this thing, and you're going to go and not share those images, and you're going to go and not talk about them, and you're going to go and not link them and not credit them. I go, that's just straight up offensive. Like,
or feel like somebody needs to like pay you money for them. You know, like that was when we first started.
We went through this.
Yeah, like we were like,
someone would email and say, "Can you have photos?" Like, and someone in this photographer was, "Oh, you got to charge these people to get the photo." You know, like, what are we thinking? Why did we?
Yeah, they want to like share and advertise like our photos. We should definitely. I don't know when we switched, but there was a time where like we thought that they should pay us to use the photos of their work, you know, like their venue and their flowers and so we just had to learn. We learned. So now it's a celebration of all the vendors, and I don't know, life is better when we're sharing happiness and each other's successes and not try to think it's all about us.
Yeah, I mean, so much of what you guys are talking about is just reciprocity. Have you guys heard of, there's a great case study, I think it was, I forgot which book I read it in. It might have been the Influence, but it talked about the Hare Krishnas. Do you guys remember the Hare Krishnas? I don't know if you guys were, if you ever traveled through an airport in like the 80s, 90s, you would often see Hare Krishnas. I think it was a religious organization that would give out roses to travelers. Did you guys ever see this?
I know where you're headed with this.
I do too,
Is this the book, How to Influence Friends or How to Influence People? Or sorry, but I do know where you're headed with this.
It's in one of these books. I think the specific book was actually called Influence, but they did a case study on the Hare Krishnas. And so the organization would stand in a airport and they would just give out free red roses to travelers. Now, upon being given the red rose, they would say this is just a gift. And then there would be like, you know, they would step a few feet and there would be like a donations basket or whatever. Well, upon receiving a gift, there's a law of social reciprocity, and you feel like even if you don't want the gift, you feel more inclined to actually donate than you would otherwise. So oftentimes travelers would actually donate and then just, they didn't want the rose anyway, so they would toss the rose at the next trash can they find, and the Hare Krishnas would go back and pick them back up and go and basically re-donate them. And this is how they, you know, got their funding. And so it's the same practice that's used, you know, if you ever go to a charity banquet, you know, how many gifts are given, you know, how many different things do they have to kind of make you feel this need to donate large sums of money. It's a practice that's ubiquitous. And, you know, I do hope that people go and they help others because they genuinely want to, but the bottom line is helping others, putting your energy out in the world is again goes back to getting energy back. It will come back to you many times over. And that's what I love about designing content, because in designing content, you're doing exactly that. You know, when you design educational, I don't like the word just content by itself, educational content for your clients, you are again giving them value, giving them, you know, you're helping to solve problems, and you're also building these long-term marketing assets. You know, you could pay for traditional advertising, but a well-written blog entry that helps answer questions is going to give you leads over the course of 10 years as opposed to an ad that's up for 10 days. So yeah, I love all these concepts. It's getting dark over there, guys.
Oh.
It is. Sorry, I should have brought some exterior studio lighting to this shoot, but I played it lazy. Just use natural. I was a natural light shooter, Pie. And it's costing us when the sun sets. So
It looks pretty. You wanna adjust the ISO up a little bit, or can you?
oh, you're right. Of course. Yeah, there's a camera there. Of course, I know how to work these.
Well, that's
Okay,
awesome.
So while he's doing that, tell me two cute baby stories.
2 cute baby stories. Josie just learned how to jump. We got her a jumper. You know, those the baskets that you like put them in. They like jump up and down.
Yes.
Yeah, she was in it for like 30 seconds, and then she figured out how to jump, and then she was so stoked. She was just like hopping all over the place. And then
That is so precious. I love those
The
things.
jumpy jumps,
Jumpy
yes.
jumps, we
Yeah.
call them.
yeah, and then she's also a wild snorer. So Josie snores like nobody's business. It's
The
really
baby?
cute though. Yeah.
You have to. I need some
Video
Insta
evidence.
stories.
Apparently she has reflux, like she throws up, which is fairly common. But yeah, so that reflex makes her snore like mad when she's asleep. It's so cute
Wow.
though.
So does she cry a lot because of the reflex? I know that can really hurt them.
Not really. Like she's actually like of all of our kids, she's the easiest. She's so incredibly easy.
Wow,
So
that's great.
yeah, she's
I
been
love
really
every
good.
picture.
I love taking them.
So cute.
Okay, so now that you guys have this wedding business, I know Seth, I would imagine one of the things that you guys really enjoy about wedding photography is the freedom in the schedule. Like you guys kind of get to go and do other ventures, spend time with the family. It seems like all those things are really important to you. Is that fair?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, actually, like we actually own another business that I haven't even brought up until you just. I didn't even think about it until you said that. Is like this freedom gave us the opportunity to partner with another friend, and we bought a business last January before the crash that we've now had for a year and a few months, and it's doing really well. And
What
it's
business
like
is this?
Yeah, exactly. So see, that's funny. So because it all compounds, like because we learned how to price ourselves accordingly and know our net worth, we don't have to shoot 50 weddings like some of our dear friends. We shoot 15. Then we
Yeah.
have time to like say, oh, a business in Cleveland. You ready for this? This is just hilarious. It's a spray graphite lubrication spray, like a hair spray.
What?
You ready? I know, isn't
I
it so
know.
confusing? It's a 70-year-old company based out of Cleveland. And basically it's a black graphite spray that engine builders put on their engines. And we bought
Crazy.
this company last year, and we already almost paid it off in a year.
That's
And
wild.
Yeah.
and Boeing is our biggest client. We're in 3 NASCAR teams, and we have phone
How-
calls with people. I know.
What?
I know.
Wait,
It's like
okay, I have a few questions here. So
Okay.
what Okay, so this is where I have to think that your PhD in chemistry helped you to understand that this product was actually good.
because I still don't know jack shit about anything. Don't be fooled.
How
It's
do you
like
know
I
this
made-
product's a good product?
Well, it has, 70-year-old reputation. We know it's good because our customers keep calling us and ordering more of it, even with bad marketing and a bad owner before us. Like the owner was so bad, he was literally not even like fulfilling orders, and our clients stayed with us. Like they would order it in October, and by December, he would just never even email them. So when we bought the company, he handed us like a 12 grand of like open orders that we just basically filled. I just mailed it to them, and now the business was jumping
Wow.
off the ground. But it's a great company, and we work on it like 4 or 5 hours a week. We have a team meeting this evening, actually, but we're working on marketing and a lot of things that Beth has learned from you. We're writing blogs and we're doing video promos for this thing that I'm not a huge expert on, but I mean, so that's like our other little side gig that can make us money, provide some happiness. I hope my kids one day have the business, but yeah, so that's like a third thing we're kind of into, which I literally forgot of until just now. Didn't you? I mean, we didn't even talk about it,
yeah.
so it's funny.
Yeah. Well, then you have the second thing would be the YouTube channel, right? And the money
the
podcast.
YouTube channel's doing really well. I mean, again, I'm excited for you because last September, which is what, 6 months ago or 7, like we had less than 1,000 subscribers. We hit 25K last night. Our
That's crazy.
Patreon, which we were hoping to get 600 patrons this year, we have 1,600. And if the
Dang.
pacing stays the same, we're actually on par this year to probably clobber and be the top patron page in the world. From the research I'm finding, we have the opportunity to be the top patron page if our numbers just stay the same. Naturally, they should build, but like yesterday, we got 37 patrons, and we're
That's
not charging
amazing.
$2. Yeah, our average patron is paying about $19 a month for
What
our,
are you
our
offering to them?
so again, my guy that I partner with, he's a lot like you, very knowledgeable, very charismatic, but
Very
like,
handsome.
that brutally.
Definitely
But I mean,
not like me then.
thank you, Beth, for throwing that in. I appreciate that. But like, no, he's like the go-to guy for like, how do I start investing? What do I invest in? How do I make money? He casually operates 12 businesses at one time, and he has 1,000 units of real estate. I mean, he's just had an incredible life. Not married, no kids, but I mean, he's he's very much like a Gary Vee type guy. And so we offer a Patreon that you get full access to. Say like, some of our patrons have like $1 million portfolios that they don't know really what to do with. So some people are learning like options tradings, like great companies to invest in, how to stay away from hype things like Bitcoin and Tesla. Like, so they're flocking to us. And we offer software like you guys. I mean, we offer software, videos, things of that nature. So it's a whole nother world that we're doing. But like we're still on that show when I'm hosting it, I still say I'm a wedding photographer because we still are, but so that's all the stuff that we're into. It's crazy.
I love it, dude. But the thing that, to tie this back to an earlier point, to build out, to design the life of more, you have to not be looking to fulfill the now. I mean, your podcast a year ago had nobody on there. And so if it was critical a year ago to be like, hey, we just gotta pay rent, get our health insurance, we just have to like make do. If that was a critical thing, you would have had to have walked away from it. And this graph that I showed earlier in the podcast, this guy, I have talked to specifically, I think probably 10 people at this point now that have been in this place in their business where they are right at the cusp of things taking off when they have to make the decision of, are they going to stick with it or not? They get to a low point and they're like, man, I need to walk away from this. One of my guests who's coming up is actually, he started the agency. It's called Iridium Agency. And they manage about 25% of UFC fighters. 25% of the UFC roster is managed by his company. He almost walked away from it the day before he got the major contract with UFC, and when they were just getting big. The day before, he said to his dad, I don't know why the hell I'm doing this. This isn't making any money. And this is like the 10th time that he said, I'm going to quit. I'm done with this. I'm done with this. The next day, UFC signed with like Fox, the network, and then his company blew up.
Wow.
But when we think in any aspect, regardless of the crap that you're going through, when we're stuck in like the today, whether it's I just lost my job, or whether it's, I got to put food on the table, or how do I figure out life insurance? When we're stuck in the today, we can never make the decisions that lead to where you're at now.
Right.
Yeah. How do I guess that you got to, having this show and sharing these stories, I think hopefully could help someone maybe realize where they're at in the low. I mean, it's hard to also understand what's possible, and like a guy like my buddy Paul on this show, he's always so emphatic about what is possible. Like we talk about this cup. This cup pie is really important to me. This is my dad's cup that he got for his 40th birthday in 1988.
Oh.
And I used to look at this for so long thinking how old, like I thought I was old, like late 30s hitting 40, which I just did last month. But then like my buddy Paul just is like, dude, you're going to live to like 97 years old. you have so much life to live. And I'm like, wow, I'm so young. And like, sometimes it takes somebody to tell you where you're at or help you find out where you're at in life. And so in our photography career, there's been so many influential people. And so we've always wanted more, and we've always been open to achieving it. It's like something I'd like to stay true with ourselves. And
right.
I know a lot of people have it tough
it's
out
like,
there.
what's it going to be like in 5 years? Like, where is our wedding? Like, it's exciting. Like, how our wedding photography is going to change in some ways, grow in some ways. Our life is going to change, that's one exciting thing. If you just, if you want it, you can do anything, give yourself time, break it down into those little steps, but that's part of it, just trying. Just give it a try. Like your buddy that's coming on, the UFC guy, like sometimes you just got to grind it out, give it a try, stick with it.
Yeah, the other piece of that too, which you guys we haven't necessarily mentioned it, but I can tell that you guys live by it, which is putting yourself in a financial position where you can think long term. And that means, for the most part, living well under what you're making, having a savings. Because you mentioned that earlier briefly, where you were like, chemistry and my previous job and her teaching, all these things led to us having the savings and be able to take the risks and those types of things. I think I have so many friends, and Iranians, mind you, are notorious for this. I went out with one of my buddies who's Iranian, and I kind of feel like there's the traditional Iranian male, which is like, it's the, oh, check out this watch, bro. It's the best. It's the best, bro. Like, that it's the best line. I feel like that's a very Persian thing. It's the best. What kind of car did you get? I got the BMW 5. It's the best. But he was talking about, like the car that he drives and everything. And he drives like a really nice car. He pulled up in a McLaren. This is a $200,000 car. But I know how much money he makes. He knows that I make more than him. And he goes, I don't understand why you're not driving a Ferrari around everywhere. And I go, because that decision would prevent me from making long-term decisions. If I'm gonna make a short-term decision like that, it puts me in a position where now I have to make the payments, and then I wouldn't be able to take any risks in business. I wouldn't be able to pursue, I'm about to spend $25,000 personally just to get the right editor for my book, like the right publishing agent for my book. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do stuff like that with, a Ferrari payment that I have to deal with. So I think a lot of people, when they start making some money, they start to spend it just as fast. And it puts them in a position where I've met people that make $40,000 a year that have more financial freedom than people that make $200,000 a year, just because of the decisions that they're doing. So when you guys talk about it, I think, like, yes, you've done all these things, you've put yourself in that position, but more than anything, you've also lived financially in a way that allows you to do those things.
I don't know how we got to that point, because I grew up in a household that we blew a lot of money, even if we didn't have it. And,
how did you?
We listen to advice, when I would say,
that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I know where you're going. When I got that chemistry job, I was surrounded by people who'd been working there a long time who were about to retire, and they started stressing, like, you have to save, like, and so.
And you did,
we did.
We listened to the advice, and then we took the advice. Often you hear the advice, but like the lady you were talking about, she chose to tell you were wrong instead of just listening to your advice. If people are giving you good advice, even if it's hard, you should do it, so it's not.
That did take some discipline, though. How did we do that? Like, we were not making a lot and saving so much money. I mean,
Beth, you must come from that too. Like, you must have that in you to save.
Yeah. Right. So
your dad.
My dad. Right. So your dad, just the way you describe him, reminds me of my own father. And I look up to him even now, we never had fancy cars. He had a great job. Like, we could have always lived in a bigger house with fancier cars. And even now, he's so excited. He just bought a 2015 Honda Fit.
Oh. Without a
That's
bumper on the back.
his retirement car. Like,
Yeah.
you
A
know,
Honda
like, I mean,
Fit. I love it.
a Honda Fit. It has like,
Driving that thing around.
he's so excited, you know, I mean, he could drive he could just be, I don't know.
He sounds
but
just like my dad. And my dad would be like, he's like, not only did I get a Honda Fit, but it's like perfectly factory tuned. And I'm like, Dad, it comes that way. He's like, yes, and I'm not ever going to change it.
Exactly, you know, and he just drives around with so much pride. So,
But we've made our mistakes too. I mean, like,
Oh.
I have a car. It's probably too expensive, and every time we buy a house, inevitably someone says, "Why are you buying a house that costs X amount of dollars?" But we always make it work. I mean, it just starts with that. I guess you're right, but when you have that, I almost called you Paul because I love you. Like when you have that nest egg of a good amount of money saved up, geez, you can just do anything. Like that company I bought, that spray graphite, we just threw 30 grand at it. Like it was like, yeah, that seems like, let's give it a try. Like, yeah, so like money helps. I mean, saving it and having it allows you just so much freedom to take fewer weddings of great clients and maybe start another business or have the mindset that you can retire, put money away for your kids so they have a better life. So my YouTube show is called Everything Money, and it's like a topic of my mind, like on a daily basis. It's just like idea of making money, spending money, saving money,
and retiring.
Yeah, and retiring. Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I love seeing what you guys have created. And honestly, like I know, photography right now is a piece of what you guys do. But in terms of like who you guys are, you have photography as a business. You have the platform, the podcast, Everything Money, and then you have this graphite business. Is it graphite? Lubricant.
Yeah, it's laughable. Even just saying it's laughable.
Personal lubricant business.
Yeah. Giggity. Yeah.
Giggity. But what I see for you guys is, Beth, like you strike me as a person who needs to have a business that is tangible interaction with other human beings. You need to not only interact with other human beings, but you need to be of value and of service to them. And that could be in so many different arenas. And Seth, I see you in a position like your values to me is somebody who's always striving to learn and to just share, to learn and to share knowledge and to do that on. So when you look at the value, I don't know if am I somewhere in the ballpark on those?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Absolutely.
Because I always look at what somebody's doing as a medium to translate their values. You know what I mean? Like right now, wedding photography is a medium that you guys use to translate your values and to bring those things to life. But that medium could be anything. So long as you're doing those things, then you would be happy and successful at it.
Totally.
Yeah, boy, when you put it like that, it kind of brings it all full circle. Like,
what about you, Pi? Like, what are some things that you're doing and the reasons
this guy's
why?
incredible. You know about this guy.
I want to hear. I want.
No, at the beginning, wedding photography for me was several things. It was making an impact in someone's life in a tangible way. That to me mattered a lot. It also, there was a certain romance in wedding photography because what I had at home in my own marriage was not good. There was not it was 15 years of unhappiness and hoping that what I had was love, but it really wasn't. So when I started shooting, it was fulfilling in many ways. It was like I get to be a part of somebody else's love for that day. And sometimes it was genuine, sometimes it wasn't.
Like photograph weddings, like listening to vows and seeing people's love and then going home and then maybe it wasn't always there. Yeah.
So at the beginning, it was like a drug addiction, right? So that's I haven't necessarily been addicted to drugs, but I would relay it to that because at the wedding, there's this high of like being a part of this story. And then immediately when I leave that, I'd start going to withdrawal, like in realizing like that's not what I have at home. So it was this constant, up and down, and I would need the next wedding to kind of bring me back to that place. And so it was that combined with taking a photograph of a person, I got to see very tangible change in them. Like I had so many people that told me how I brought them closer together just in the way that I would talk to them and the way I would photograph them and seeing themselves through my eyes, then it became, okay, I want to affect more people. I want to help others to do the same thing. I want to be able to teach. And so it became, now if Pi is doing this with 30 people, what if I start showing photographers how to do this with their 30 people? And it eventually became, now I get to, help 700,000, 800,000 photographers around the world to do this with their 30 people and that they're affecting. And it was, okay, now I'm making a big change, and I'm making a massive change in people's lives, that it can be extended throughout all these different people. Now, what's the next step? And the next step for me is, okay, I want something broad audience. I want a platform where we can talk about things that matter to everybody, not just to the people that are taking pictures or that are having their photographs taken, but just everyday life. So for me, it's always been around this central value of, I like to take complex subjects, make them simple, and improve people's lives through them. And as long as I'm doing that, then I'm happy. And that can be done in many different ways.
Thanks so much for having us on and giving us an opportunity to, I don't know, kind of share our story and our path along the journey.
I was telling people this is like one of the biggest things that's probably ever happened to us in terms of wedding, like being a photographer, is like having the chance, because like some of our idols that we followed for a long time have been on the show already. I'm sure they'll be on the show in the future. So even putting ourselves anywhere near some of these folks that we like, really.
I got new mascara for the.
Did you?
Did you notice?
Did you?
Flawless.
It looked lovely. I did notice.
Thank you.
That was the first thing that I thought of, was like,
Girl, those eyelashes look amazing.
You look stunning today.
Honey.
So thanks for having us on. We'd love to see the show grow. And I think Beth and I both thought that you were one of these unattainables, Pi. We could never be friends with you. You're too awesome and amazing. And there's like Pi, Lynn,
he
and
still
Jersa.
is too awesome and too amazing.
That's silly. You guys are very flattering. But let me say, before you guys continue and make me feel uncomfortable, I feel like you two have not only created an incredible business for yourselves, an incredible life for yourselves, but in terms of people that I know, you are two of the most genuine people that I know in this industry, and your effect on the industry has been significant among everybody around you. You guys are always willing to step in to help, to bring people on to your platforms, to lift them up. Everything that you're doing is amazing. I love the fact that you guys have built now 3 different businesses, and I can only imagine where it's going to be in 5 years. So you have so far beyond earned your seat at any table you're talking about that it's very humbling for you to say what you're saying. But yes, you guys are amazing, and I can't wait to see even more. So
Thanks,
I'm not going to let them make me uncomfortable. So here's what I'm going to do, though. So if you are listening, I want you guys to be sure to check out Seth and Beth. In the show notes, we're actually going to link up everything that they have. So if you are on YouTube, you guys can check out the show notes. We're going to link up their photography as well as their other businesses. If you're a photographer, they do also have workshops and coaching available. And then I'm going to be checking out the Everything Money podcast. I already have listened to quite a few, which is awesome.
Thanks.
I can't wait to bring you and Paul back for an episode. It's Paul, right?
Yeah, he'd love to talk to you. I mean, I'm speaking very highly of you for many months now, and
he's from Iraq, so I wonder how.
Oh, that's awesome.
How does that work?
Yeah, you're from Iran. He's from Iraq.
Do they clash? Those countries clash? I don't even know.
No, I think they're friends.
Are they?
I don't think they're friends, but I'm sure we'll be friendly.
Great. Okay,
most of us that have left are not part of the old ways.
Well, okay, yeah, he'll be on, and that'll be that. So, thanks for bringing that up, Beth. That was great. But no, thanks for having us. We're stoked, and this has been great. And you are a light in our life that we're striving toward, and I can't wait to see you again very soon. Of course, I'll wrestle your ass. I'll wrestle your ass.
Yes, we will.
I'm
gonna come at you different with that PhD degree now. I wrestled with you last time like you didn't have a PhD.
What if I was getting jiu-jitsu training this whole year and didn't tell you? That would be
awesome. And then you just came and like destroyed me. That
Right.
would be
that'd be
rad.
awesome.
Seth would be wearing a singlet. You'd be wearing a gi. The two of you at each other.
All right, we have the sun is setting on this parade. So thank you, Pi. We love
Of course, guys. Love y'all. Real quick, for those that are just listening, they can check you guys out at Seth and Beth Photography, right?
SethandBeth.com is the website, SethandBeth.com. And yeah, check us out on YouTube. Everything Money is the channel. And Pi, we do 21 videos a week, bro. I mean, we
That's
are getting
insane.
after it.
That
Yeah,
is
completely
insane, dude.
Yep. So, all right. Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
so
bro.
much.
All right, guys. Go have a wonderful day. Thank you all for tuning in. Peace.
See
Bye,
ya.
guys.
Bye.